Geek to me radio, da 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 da. Geek to me radio, da 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 da. Welcome, St. Louis. Welcome, Points Online. This is another exciting episode of Geek to Me Radio right here on 1260 AM. Today I am joined by Charles from Ruthless FX. We'll be talking cosplay. We'll also be talking to Chris McQuillen from Geekinomicon and Dan Carroll from DragonCon, so stay tuned. We're talking TV, comics and movies, and video games. And if you don't know Star Trek from Star Wars, we'll try to explain. There are 12 doctors for Hogwarts houses, one ring rules them all. To be the greatest Pokemon master, you must catch them all. You must catch them all. Try to catch them all. Gotta catch them all. Gotta catch them all. All right, our fourth episode of Geek to Me Radio right here. If you're in the St. Louis area, welcome. Thank you for listening. If you're listening online or as part of the podcast, we appreciate that as well. Today we are talking cosplay and Comic Cons. And in studio with me, I have Charles from Ruthless FX. Thanks for coming in.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And I first met up with you at the St. Louis Gateway Geek Fest, which is over there at the Machinist Hall, and I was blown away by some of the sculpts and the masks and helmets you guys do. Explain a little bit about how Ruthless FX got started.
Well, it started, basically just for me to have gotten into costuming was really started off from a fundraiser I went to, and I saw these people from a group called the 501st. Amazingly screen accurate costumes, just phenomenal. And as I saw how that affected not only just me, but also my nephew, and how much he was wigging out, and he saw it was just so amazing. I was like, you know what? I got to figure out how this is done. And so as I started looking into it, at the time I was a student. I was going to college. I was going to school for game and art design and didn't have that much money. And then as I did more and more research, I found out there was ways I could apply my 3D modeling into the costuming world. Mm-hmm. And so then I discovered this program called Pepakura. Pepakura.
Okay.
Yeah, it's almost like a 3D puzzle. You print off these patterns, and then you can bend and manipulate these patterns, and then you can put it together like a giant 3D puzzle. You can scale it to any size you want. Some people have made cars out of them.
No kidding.
Yeah, a lot of paper, and you mostly use cardstock when you want to print it off. And this was before 3D printing came out or anything, so this was the best way I could apply my 3D modeling skills into my costuming world. And so one of my 501st friends was wanting me to start making what's called a Dark Trooper.
Oh, yeah. If you're a Star Wars fan, you know what the Dark Troopers are.
The old school one from the old school Battlefront games. And so he wanted to be the first to make it. And so he said what we would do back then with Pepakura, before people started using foam to make costumes, you would take Pepakura, you would print it off, you glue it together using regular Elmer's glue, and then you would actually coat it with fiberglass resin, which you'd have to do outside, wear a respirator.
Yeah, exactly.
And so after that would happen, so then it becomes solid as a rock. So you'd also have to put the mesh on the inside of the helmet, and then you would also have to use Bondo, which is body filler, car body filler. And so then after you do that, then you end up sanding. I spent probably 4 months just sanding away and perfecting this first helmet I made, and then it turned out to be just a little bit too small.
Oh, no.
So I gave it to my nephew, so he was happy.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, he was really happy he got that. And then time just progressed, and also I was getting ready to do my first suit of armor, and I was so impressed with everything that was coming along so far. I spent probably about 300 hours putting this costume, just the paper part together, and I was getting it ready. I put it outside, I fiberglassed it all, and I let it to sit and cure overnight, and it rained. And I lost about 300 hours worth of work. It was insane.
Wow, talk about time you'll never get back.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, and so then I kind of just took a little break, I was like, man, all that time. And so then I got back into it, and I got back on the RPF, which is a forum you can get on and just find tons of information. And so then I got into like foam building, which is a lot faster than cutting the pepper.
I'm sure.
So just really time efficient. So then after doing that, and then I started discovering this is when 3D printing was coming out. And I'm like, I'm a pretty good 3D modeler, and it might be worth just to invest in one and see what I can do. And this was about 4 years ago. I got the MakerBot Replicator 2. And that's when I started being able to throw my 3D printing and mix it with the costuming, and it was amazing. And I started being able to make like my I think my most popular one was my K-Lig helmet from Star Wars: The Republic video game. So that was one of my more popular helmets that I make. It was something I didn't expect that helmet to blow up the way it did, like how many people wanted it. And then I made a Tulak Horde costume for the Star Wars Celebration, and I went there and it was awesome. It was the people's reaction was amazing. Not to mention the BioWare people for the game were there. They had a cantina going on.
Oh, fun!
And me and my friend that specialized with these with the Star Wars: The Republic, because it's not canon, so you can't really get in the fight.
Right. Yeah.
But we were there, and we did. Of course, there was certain people that were there and all about Star Wars: The Republic, and well, then that we actually met the lead writer and the lead director of the game. They said, you must come to this cantina.
Nice.
And so we went, and it was just amazing. And some of the lead people were there, and he's like, hey, you know what, after the show's done, stick around, I want to talk to you. And I was like, oh wow, this is awesome. And then he's like, you know what, I think what you guys do are amazing, and you could consider doing this for a living. And so we're like, me and my friend were like, yeah, we make a little bit of profit, but we don't really consider that our main income,
if you could though.
Right. If I could, that would be amazing. And that is of course my goal. Right now I work at a tire factory on midnights, and I come home, I start working. I probably work about 14 hours a day sometimes, but you gotta have your downtime, of course. Like I make sure I get that just so I can stay.
Sure, absolutely.
fueled.
Otherwise you get burnt out pretty quick.
Oh yeah.
Now the ones you brought today, you've got the Nova helmet and the black mask, and we're gonna, if you are following us on Periscope, you can, if you haven't yet, if you're on Twitter or whatever, at Geek Me Radio on Periscope. During the break, we are going to show off these two pieces. This one, the Nova one, you were telling me you were going to do it in two pieces, and it was one. So how long does a typically complex one like that take to do from conception to finished product?
Oh, just to from just the idea, hey, I want to make this. Well, it would just depend on how complicated it is. This Nova helmet wasn't particularly complicated. It was fairly simple from my point of view, and I did make it to where I wanted to make the star actually separate. So, because I whenever I make something, I'm also looking forward into the molding process, and the painting process. Will it be easier to paint separate, or do I want this to be in two pieces, or should I make it in one and then cut it, like I did for Black Mask? When I cast and mold this, it's one piece, but it's also a two-piece helmet.
Oh, nice.
So, because in order for it to fit, that's the only way it'll work.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
especially someone with a noggin the size of mine,
right?
I would make sure it goes over my head.
Well, especially if. Because if not, if I make it to where it just slid over your head, then it look like a bobblehead. I shoot for accuracy. So, if it's meant to be a tight-fitting helmet, then it's going to be tight-fitting, and it won't fit everyone. But I want mine, when it fits me, I want it to look accurate.
I have to actually commission you to do an extra large one so I could go as a pop vinyl. Right. I could cosplay one of those. So.
That'd be possible, too. You could, there's so many different ways of doing that. Like when I was at Star Wars Celebration, not the last one that was in... Europe, of course, but the last one.
I think it was here in Atlanta.
It was California.
California, okay.
Yeah, and so when I was there, I actually saw somebody was in a costume of Bad Robot.
Oh, nice!
It was so cool, and it was really accurate too. But it was just amazing to see that, and it's like, I know he mostly made it out of foam, but it looks so good.
I like some of those really outside the box cosplay things. If you're listening right now too, I should throw out the phone numbers. If you're in the St. Louis area or parts out of the St. Louis area, it's a toll-free number, 855-770-1260. If you have a question for myself or Charles about cosplayers, want to make a cosplay comment, feel free to do that as we're talking here. Do you find the Star Wars ones, do you get more demand for those than you do like the DC and Marvel Comics ones, or is it pretty much even spread?
Well, I would say it's pretty even. I do more DC and Star Wars universe stuff. Marvel, I do a little bit of, not too much.
Mm-hmm.
Like Nova, I think was probably, and besides Iron Man was the only stuff
Mm-hmm.
I ever did. But yeah, I mostly do like DC, and like my Red Hood stuff is probably, even if you just Google image pre-52 Red Hood, and the first costume you see is me. So
nice.
It's like, that's my favorite costume of all time. Is my Red Hood one. It's actually a character that I just fell in love with. I didn't even know who he was at first until I was commissioned to make it, and I'm like, wow, I need to research this character. It's awesome.
See, it's one of the joys of having the job is you get to find out all these new things you didn't know before.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yes.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be speaking more with Charles from Ruthless FX. Later on in the show, we'll have Dan Carroll from DragonCon and Chris McQuillen from Geekinomicon, so stand by. Welcome back to Geek to Me Radio. This segment brought to you by the Fantasy Shop. 4 locations around the St. Louis area: in St. Charles on Zumbel Road, South County on Baptist Church Road, in Florissant on North Lindbergh, and in Maplewood on Manchester. You can check them out at fantasyshoponline.com to get all their store hours and details. They always have events going on throughout the week and throughout the month. In fact, they have coming up on September 13th, they have a Star Wars LCG. It starts at 7 p.m., and this is at the St. Charles location. Cost is free. They've got prizes, playmat for the first prize, premier cards for first and second place, premier deck boxes for first, second, and third place. There's always something going on at all the Fantasy Shop locations. You can go to their website, Fantasy Shop Online, to check it out. If you're a comic book person, if you're a gaming person, this is really a place where you go about the experience of being engaged in the fandom, in the genre. And it's really unlike any place else. 4 locations around the St. Louis area, and they've been in business since 1981, so they kind of know what they're doing. Check them out, again, online, fantasyshop.com. Very, very proud to have them as the official sponsor of Geek to Me Radio and the official comic book store of the show. We've got Charles in studio from Ruthless FX. I'm sitting here looking at Nova and the Black Mask, and I'm wondering how I can have Joey distract you so I can actually abscond with him after the show's over. Do you get commission pieces a lot, or you basically have the mold you have and people buy them, or is it a little bit of both? How does your sales process work?
It's actually a little bit of both. It just depends on, generally I go ahead and put what I already have molds up on my website or on my Etsy shop, and then they order it from there. But I do get hit up for custom stuff all the time. It's just that it's such a long process.
Sure.
Like what we were talking about earlier, like the process is actually goes from like, how long it takes to 3D model. It depends on how complicated that is. So that could take up to 30 hours. It just really depends on how complicated it is. And it could take only 10 hours to model or 15. Just doesn't really matter. Then it has to take time to 3D print. And then I have to glue the 3D print pieces together because you can't just print it all in one piece.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, unless you spend like a lot of money on a 3D printer. But yeah, so I put them together, and then after I put them together, I have to smooth them all out because you got small, like if you notice on these helmets here, there's no lines. It's
right,
perfectly smooth.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a movie prop, basically. I mean, it's very impressive.
And so what I do is you have to smooth it all out. You can't just, it doesn't just come off the printer and you put it on there and hey, here we go. Right. It actually takes.
Otherwise, anyone could do it if that was the case.
Yeah, if it was easy, everyone would do it.
Exactly.
But yeah, so I mean, that's pretty much I do custom stuff if people want to do it, or I basically make everything I like. So if I like it, if I think it's cool, then I want to make it. And if people at the same time, or if there are enough people out there that like it enough, they want it, then I make a mold of it. But yes, there have been a few people I've made custom stuff for. But of course, it's only if I have time to do it. I'm already behind on some of my own projects. I'm not taking any new ones on at the moment. So
I know you were talking about, and I'm so jealous, the Iron Man armor.
Mm-hmm.
You said that is complete. You've got it done. It's your own costume, though. But
no, not the Iron Man armor. The Red Hood.
Red Hood. Okay, I thought we were talking earlier before the show. You said an Iron Man Mark.
Well, I would say like the Mark 40 one I did make. That was one of my first full armored up costumes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I made that one out of foam. It was one of the first Mark 40s because I was also the one that created the Pepper file. I put it, like I said, I put it on the the forum, the RPF, which is a great forum to go to. And I put it up there for everyone to download for free because some people charge for them. And well, since the community helped me out so much, I just said, you know what, guys, here's the files. Have fun with it.
That's fantastic. So if someone did, let's say someone came to you and said, hey, I would like you to do an Iron Man thing. Is that something that you guys would take on, or it's kind of like, well, we've got a lot of this, or
well,
we can...
Me personally, I wouldn't take on the full set of armor. I have friends that are amazing prop makers as well that I'll say, hey, go to this person. They'll take care of you. And so that's what I do. I personally don't make full sets of armor from Iron Man or anything anymore because there's so many other people making it. Not
yeah,
really,
that's true. It's kind of like everyone's doing it now.
Right. And so like
you were doing it before it was cool, basically.
Well, I wouldn't say that necessarily, but I would say that, yeah, I was one of the first people to get into doing a little bit more of the side stuff like that. It was when it wasn't as popular as it is now. But now I'm working on the the Arkham Knight Red Hood armor, and I'm making that, and I'm casting that in rubber.
Okay.
So you can actually move in it, because, I mean, you look at all these people in these amazing costumes. They can't sit down. You know,
yeah.
They're walking around, and they're probably in some weird posture, and after you're in costume for like 3 hours, you are about to die. It is something like you can do only in intervals. So it's nice to even do a really cool costume that's not all armored up, and you can just sit around and relax and be like everyone else, kind of like I did with my Diablo, El Diablo from Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
That was nice, because you know what? I didn't have to do anything.
Right. And there's, I know professional cosplayers who go around from Comic-Con to Comic-Con, and some of them, this is what they do almost for a living, and some of them have it as a side job. Have any professional cosplayers come to you and said, I'd love to have one of these or something like that? Have you gotten anybody big, like a big cosplayer, to come to you and commission anything yet?
Oh, I wouldn't say anyone big, but I do have some people, like a couple of them try to get me to sponsor them, basically just give it to them, and I'm like, well, you know, I'll think about it. Just really depends on where I'm at. But if I don't, I basically have to do things. I have to prioritize. Like,
of course,
if I ever got far enough ahead, and someone's like, hey, you know, I'll represent your stuff, I'd be like, well, that's kind of cool. And I did do it for one person. He's actually doing a web mini series called Bloodhaven, which he's basically the Nightwing character, and he's got one of my black masks. He asked me for one of my Red Hoods. I said, not right now. I'm behind on production. I got to, once I get ahead, possibly. You know, but I did hook him up with one of my black masks, and of course it's going to be one of the main bad guys on the show.
Yeah.
And it looks like...
Is that filming here in St. Louis? Because I saw something out, a webcast that they were putting out.
I'm not real sure exact. He's based in California.
Oh, okay, so it's just something different then.
Yeah, it's over there. And I would guess that it's probably going to be pretty well, decently done. I hope so. I mean, I had another cosplayer. He actually used one of the helmets of mine that he already bought, and he was going to make a Red Hood miniseries, but I think one of the actors got hurt, and they just kind of trashed it. But
the fan films are big. I mean, there's there's a lot of professionally done fan films that look better than some of the big budget pictures we're seeing too.
That's true. Even some of the I hardly ever hate on a costume, but one of the ones I was really me and my wife watched Supergirl, and there was one called like Red Tornado, I think was the character.
yeah.
That costume just didn't look good at all.
I was kind of surprised because the DC, the stuff they've been doing on TV, I was just having this conversation earlier today, their TV stuff, their small screen stuff is fantastic. Their movie stuff I've got several problems with, which would be a whole nother show. But I was kind of surprised by the Red Tornado, unless they're thinking that's 1.0 version. They're going to upgrade them and make them look a little more sleek in season 2 of Supergirl, which will be on the CW now. So that's a possibility.
Yeah, hopefully that will actually increase the quality, because I mean, the Arrow is phenomenal.
Exactly.
My wife loved that show, and The Flash, and it's just those are two shows that we never miss.
See, and honestly, if anyone from the CW or Warner Brothers are listening, and you need some upgraded masks and everything, I'm telling you, I've tweeted the pictures online. If you're following me at Geek to Me Radio, I've tweeted some of the pictures of your Arkham Knight Red Hood costume and of the two masks here. You can check them out, and of course, follow them at Ruthless FX on Twitter, and you can find them on Facebook, Ruthless FX, all one word, no underscore, anything between the Ruthless and the FX. Fantastic stuff. You want to stick around for the next couple of segments?
Oh,
if you're
definitely.
Okay?
Yeah, that'd
all right,
be
great.
cool.
We're right now talking with Charles from Ruthless FX. Stay tuned. We're going to have Dan Carroll from DragonCon on in the next segment. Stand by. Welcome back to this segment of Geek to Me Radio. We are going straight to the phone lines right now, where we are joined by Dan Carroll, who is the media guru for DragonCon. Dan, are you there?
Yes, I am, and I'm happy to be talking to the folks of St. Louis today.
Thank you so much for calling in. Now, I've not been to DragonCon because honestly, it gives me anxiety just thinking about because how big it is. Just take a minute or two to kind of talk about, because this is the 30th year it's been going, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And the biggest thing to understand about DragonCon is that DragonCon is a by fans, for fans convention. What we are is a group of folks who get together and celebrate the things we're passionate about. We take up 5 host hotels and a convention center we call America's Mart. We don't take up all of it, but we take up a good number of floors. Meanwhile, we have about 75,000 people getting together, talk about Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who. I heard in your promo, Doctor Who mentioned, and we cover everything from literature to film to art. Some of the great literary writers are going to be joining us, including Jim Butcher. And we also have artists, the folks who make those covers for those great books that we love to enjoy. But meanwhile, we have guests coming from all walks of life, and by guests we mean celebrities. Not just our celebrity actors who we're super happy to have, but we also have scientists, engineers, people who are behind the scenes, puppeteers. We got a lot of puppeteers, artists, filmmakers, musicians. We have 42, 44 acts, I think, this year already announced. So if you like something and it's pop culture or entertainment related, you're going to find it at DragonCon. Also, a lot of technology. How was that? Was that enough information to get you started?
That's fantastic, actually. I know I heard you a couple weeks ago. You were on with my friends down there in Atlanta, BK on the Air, and you were talking about, I think you said the parade, the DragonCon parade, it actually is going to be televised on the CW this year. Is that correct?
That's correct, but at CW Atlanta, it will not be nationally televised on the CW this year. I don't want to disappoint you. However, CW Atlanta, you will be able to watch it on the internet that evening. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it live, but also DragonConTV.org, I believe that is the proper URL. We'll also have our own coverage because DragonCon is big enough to have its TV network inside the convention.
Fantastic. And I know you usually have, because you're right there in Atlanta where they filmed The Walking Dead, so I'm assuming you'll have some Walking Dead celebs again, yeah?
No, well, actually, they tend to be filming.
Oh, so right now they are.
We don't have a lot of, we don't have a lot of Walking Dead, but we do have a lot of other folks from the CW. It just so happens we've got folks from Arrow, a very popular show, folks from The Flash.
I think I've heard of that one, yeah.
Yeah, The Flash is pretty popular. And how about iZombie? Are you an iZombie fan?
I love, my wife and I started watching that, and we were hooked. It's so good.
And we have Ally Michalka coming. We have Rose MacGyver, who plays
Liv, yeah.
Liv. I almost said it wrong. Who plays Liv. And we also have David Anders, who plays a zombie who turns her into a zombie.
Yes, yeah, he's the bad guy of the piece. But he's brilliant. I loved him from Alias.
Or is he?
That's
he
true.
Slightly changing it. I heard a writer once say the difference between drama and melodrama is in melodrama, everybody's the same. In drama, the hero becomes the villain, and the villain becomes the victim, and the victim becomes the hero.
That's well put, actually, yeah. Yeah, but David Anders, who plays Blaine on iZombie, is also he played Sark on Alias, too. So he's got some geek cred like no one else's business.
Well, of course, he's on Heroes also in 24, so he's got some strong stuff. So the other thing is that we don't just have the new folks coming. We've got actors coming in from old shows that we love, such as William Shatner from Star Trek.
Oh, of course. You got to love Captain Kirk.
How about, are you a Flash Gordon fan? I love that movie. We have Flash Gordon, Dale Arden coming. So we have 400 guests, of which about 100 are celebrity guests who will be signing autographs on our famous Walk of Fame. But DragonCon is much more than that. It's a thing about family. It's about getting together with folks who only come to Atlanta once a year. We might not get to see them all the time. And did you know that DragonCon is one of the givingest conventions around? And last year we raised just over $100,000 for lymphoma research, and this year our charity is called the Atlanta Center for Self-Sufficiency, and we're raising money to help homeless people get the skills and materials they need to mainstream into life and move past the situation they're in.
Perfect.
So we're very happy about that. And we got, of course, as I mentioned, Jim Butcher, but we have dozens and dozens of writers. So have you ever... What we do at our convention is that we have 35 programming tracks, each celebrating a different fandom.
I'm gonna pause you right there because my producers tell me we have to go to break. So just if you wouldn't mind sticking around just 1 second, we'll come back and we'll wrap it up from DragonCon. And in the meantime, you're listening to Geek to Me Radio. Stand by. Welcome back to Geek to Me Radio, jam-packed show. We've got Charles from Ruthless FX showing off his cool cosplay helmets and everything, talking cosplay. And we've got on the line with us still Dan Carroll. So Dan, just give a quick 45-second summation of DragonCon, and that's coming up Labor Day weekend down there in Atlanta. What would be the big things people might want to see?
Well, first off, find out all the information you need at www.dragoncon.org. But the biggest thing you have to take into account is DragonCon is the most prolific costuming event in the country. So you'll see costumes. We've got lots of guests. We are embraced and loved by the city of Atlanta, and that parade is just something like nobody else in the country has.
It's like Mardi Gras for geeks. I think that's the best way to sum it up, isn't it?
I think Mardi Gras is like DragonCon.
There you go.
For Lent.
Actually, that's even better. I like that. Dan Carroll from DragonCon, thank you very much for coming on the show with us. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to DragonCon.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. Go Blues.
Thank you. Take care. And that was Dan. Real quick, we are going to go to another con that's here in St. Louis. I'm sorry. I met them in St. Louis. They're having a con here in St. Louis over Halloween weekend. But first, they have Geekonomicon in Oklahoma City, and we're going to talk to Chris McQuillen about that. Chris, are you there?
Yeah, I'm right here. What's going on?
Not much. Thanks for calling in. And Geekonomicon Oklahoma City, for Doctor Who people, why is this such a big deal?
You already know it's the 20th anniversary of the Doctor Who movie, which featured McCann, Eric Roberts, Daphne Ashbrook, Sylvester McCoy, A.C. Tao, Jeremy Reddick. I mean, those all are names that was in the movie. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? You come to the Oklahoma OKC show, Geekonomicon, and you're going to see all those people. You are going to see Eric Roberts. You are going to meet Ashbrook. Sylvester McCoy is going to be there. I mean, it's a reunion tour of the Doctor Who. We even have parts of the from the movie is going to be there. This also TARDIS is going to be there. You'll be able to be part. It's not just attending a convention. You'll be part of the convention. You're going to live the convention. We always talk about join the revolution. Our Comic-Con, Geek Expos, is taking Comic-Cons to the next level. It's not just attending. You're going to live part of it. You're going to be part of it.
And for people who maybe not big Doctor Who fans, you guys have a lot of other stars from a lot of other fandoms who are going to be at this event.
Oh, of course. I mean, this isn't just a Doctor Who convention. That wouldn't be fair to all the others. You have Star Wars. You have, we're going to have everything. We have so much. We have people from anime. We have Power Rangers coming in. We have 5 Power Rangers coming in. We have guys from Spaceballs, Tim Russ. Right. We have Christina Wren. We have Adrian Palaki. We have Felix Silla, which was Tweety, which is cousin It, that was in Star Wars. He was one of the Ewoks. Mm-hmm. We have a lot. John Noble, big name, of course, John Noble, who's been in Lord of the Rings and Fringe and Elementary. I mean, We're going to have, oh my gosh, there's so many people. Oh, Greg Grunberg, who is J.J. Abrams' right-hand man. He's going to be there. Vincent Ward from Walking Dead. He's going to be there. So Vernon Wells from Mad Max. He's going to be there. We're going to have voice actors. We're going to have Miltos from Game of Thrones. He's going to be there. Not including the nice thing about the Oklahoma show, you're not only going to get, if you get the all-access pass, now you know you can come to the convention and be every other convention, but if you get an all-access pass, we have a part of the all-access pass, you get admission into the zip line, the laser tag, the downtown boating, the downtown whitewater rafting, the botanical gardens, the Crystal Bridge. You get that's where you become part of the show. You're not just attending the show. And not including, I mean, go to geekexpos.com, geekexpos.com, and that just opens up your eyes to a lot of new things. We're first year in Oklahoma City. Anyone that knows me, the Toy Man shows in St. Louis, we've been there for 26 years under the Toy Man. We're going to be at the America Center. We were at the Geek Fest last year at the Machinist Hall, so we're going from a 13,000 square foot to a 500,000 square foot at the America Center. And of course, we have to ring in the new, and that's going to be at Halloween. So what's better to be a cosplayer at a Comic-Con on Halloween in St. Louis? St. Louis is all about cosplay. And then, of course, New Year's Eve, you get to ring in the new year with one and only Stan Lee himself.
That's exciting. So, that's going to be the Dallas one. You can get tickets for all these on geekexpos.com. And Chris, I'm going to definitely have you back on closer to the St. Louis date because I've been talking to you about broadcasting the show live from the expo that Saturday.
Of course. You're definitely welcome, listeners. Follow the podcast, follow anything you see that's any podcasts out there, anything radio that you hear Geek Expos, nothing else, follow James Enstall. He's the voice of the nerds out there.
Stop.
And you're doing quite well in what you do. I enjoy talking to you. We're friends, and it's just all about the fandom.
Exactly.
Nothing more, nothing less. Just that simple. If it wasn't for the fans, we wouldn't exist.
And you mentioned the toy shows at the Machinist Hall. You've been doing those ever since I've known you, and those are fantastic. Just to go see those, all the toys and the different things you can get there, and you've done a great job running those. So when you were telling me about the Geek Expos you had going on, my mouth hit the floor. It's an amazing time to be a geek and to enjoy all this fandom stuff. And these Geek Expos you guys are doing just are knocking it out of the park. Yeah,
and that's the thing is, it's run by geeks for the geeks. The Toy Man Show, it's been around 26 years. Yeah, me and my father started in 1990 with just 125 tables, but my shows are 7 times a year, and they're one-day shows, and there's nothing wrong with that. You have 230 tables on 130 vendors. But it's just a toy show, and it's a one-day show. I took it to the next level. We're looking at a 500,000 square foot in St. Louis. We're talking about big names. We're talking about A-listers. We're not just talking about B and C listers. Nothing wrong with B and C listers. But we want to give what people are asking for, and we're going to bring it. And we're going to bring it loud. We're going to bring it proud. And if you want to, join the revolution. GeekExpos.com. Find us on the web. Find us on Facebook. Find us on Instagram. We're out there.
I'm excited to see you guys in Oklahoma City, and I'm very excited about the Transformers. I want to talk to Dan Gilvizan, who did the voice for Bumblebee. I'm particularly excited about talking to him. But Chris, thank you very much for coming on. I greatly appreciate the time, and we will see you in Oklahoma City.
We'll see you in a few weeks.
Thanks. Take care. That's Chris McQuillen from Geekinomicon. Very excited about that. And I'm also very excited to tell you about downtown St. Charles. Historic stcharles.com, the proud sponsor of Geek to Me Radio. It's like traveling back in time, and you don't need a souped-up DeLorean or a TARDIS to do it. They've got so much stuff going on. Just for example, if you go to their website, historicstcharles.com, if you're looking for stuff to do in September, they've got second Thursdays at the Foundry Art Center, which are always fun. There is the Sunday, September 4th, St. Charles Community Big Band Jazz. They've got food events going on. We just finished up with the Festival of the Little Hills last weekend, which was a great time. Beautiful atmosphere. They've got a ton of little shops, things you won't find anywhere else. And there's always something to see and do. Bring the kids down. They've got like 2 Pokestops down there, for crying out loud. So you can play some Pokemon Go while you're running around there, learning about history, doing some cool shopping, and check out some cool places to eat. Check them out at historicstcharles.com. We will be back to wrap things up here on Geek to Me Radio. Stand by. We are back on Geek to Me Radio, wrapping things up. It's been a jam-packed show. We got to talk to Dan Carroll from DragonCon. We spoke with Chris McQuillen from Geekinomicon. Both big cons happening next weekend. You can check them out at their websites if you still want to get tickets and go. There's plenty of time left. In studio, we have Charles from Ruthless FX, and you were just saying something about the charity that's involved in the cosplay.
Oh yeah, it's really cool. You get to go and do charity events. Like I think the last one I did, it was actually it was at the Scott Air Force Base, and it was really cool. You know, the kids get to come and see and get their pictures with you, and it's just really, it's awesome to be a part of that also. And also the thing that makes cosplay different is when you go to a con, because it's definitely different being in costume versus being out.
Right.
It's like, so whenever I'm in costume, you get to act and be that character, and it's almost like acting, but not, because you're enjoying the heck out of it.
Right.
Especially when I was Cyberman, whenever Matt Smith and all the Whovians were at St. Louis.
Yeah.
Was a world that was awesome. And so, yeah, I mean, when you're out, you get to enjoy the con as it is and everything else. But when you're in the costume, it's more fun to me.
Sure. And if you want to check out some of the creations that they've got, that's ruthlessfx.com. Ruthless, and then the letter F, the letter X, as in Foxtrot X-ray. No underscores or hyphenates. RuthlessFX, all one word.com. Find them on Facebook, facebook.com/ruthlessfx, and on Twitter, at ruthlessfx. Quickly, before we go, I want to talk to you about Hendel's up in Florissant. Beautiful, historic Florissant, right there in the French area. If you want some fantastic food, it's almost 4 o'clock. You probably don't have dinner plans yet. If you don't, you want to go to hendelsrestaurant.com. You can check out their full menu. They've got awesome events that go on throughout the week. Wine Down Wednesdays is one of my favorite if you like a little vino. They got half price off their bottles of wine on the menu. Fantastic appetizers. As my wife said, the best spinach artichoke dip she's ever had. Check them out, hendelsrestaurant.com. Give Nate and Christina a call up there. They'll take good care of you. Beautiful time to sit out on the patio and have dinner out there. Once again, hendelsrestaurant.com. HENDELS. It's food, it's drink, it's history. Check them out. Thank you again, Charles, for coming into the studio tonight. I greatly appreciate it. We're going to Periscope us wearing the masks that he brought in. So if you want to check it out, at Geek to Me Radio. Please check out my website, geektomeradio.com. There's links to my sponsors pages on there, as well as my YouTube. If you want to check out some unboxing videos I do, some just parody videos. We've got Twitter, at geektomeradio.com, Instagram, at geektomeradio.com. So check us out there as well. And cosplay is a big business. I was looking online just to get some stats. Generally speaking, people who do it, not even full-blown professional level, you're looking at probably anywhere from $500 to $4,000 for the costume and the props and everything. So if you're wanting to get into it, you might want to check out Ruthless FX's website, because I'm blown away by some of the stuff they've done. Like I said, I first saw them here in St. Louis at the Gateway Geek Fest, and I couldn't believe the stuff you guys do. It's fantastic work.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, we're passionate about it, and that's why we're dedicated to getting it as accurate as possible and just making it look as good as possible.
And you do a fine job too. I'm like I said, I'm still gonna have Joey distract you, and so I can abscond with the black mask helmet before you go. And yeah, be sure to check them out. If you're a cosplayer and you're in the St. Louis area, the Geekinomicon St. Louis is coming up Halloween weekend. So it's Halloween weekend. It's a Comic-Con, and you can cosplay there. It's like Christmas and Halloween and New Year's all wrapped in one big package. Check them out again, geekexpos.com. We are going to sign off. Next week, I will be in Oklahoma City, but I pre-taped a show for you. It's a Doctor Who themed show, so make sure to tune in for that. Signing off, Geek to Me Radio.
It's not in the way you watch iZombie. It's not in the way you watch The Flash. It's not in the way you love Scotty Young Arts. It's not in the way you play Mario Kart. It's not in the
Thank you, St. Louis. Good night.